Kurkjian, ESPN baseball reporter. Tim, how do I look today?
You look better than I do. Aaron Boone told me not long ago that I look like Dr. Fauci. He's 80. You look like Dr. Fauci. He's 80. And then the other day, when I was in Boston for the wild card game, I ran into some friends, and the wife, who I know very well, but I haven't seen her in years, she said, now that Paul Giamatti's lost a lot of weight and you've gotten a lot older, you look like Paul Giamatti. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. I don't look like Paul Giamatti. All I know is you look better than I do, and we are of similar age.
Thank you, Tim. I feel a lot better. That's the only reason why I wanted you to come on, to say something nice about me. So thank you very much. I mentioned this last hour, and my guys did not. They whiffed on it. They didn't get the answer. I'm going to guess that you'll know this. I have a favorite pitcher. He's still in the playoffs. He's had a lot of success in the playoffs, and he's 37 years of age. Do you want to guess the pitcher that I love? He's a guy that I love watching pitch.
All right. It's Charlie Morton.
Yes, it is. I love Charlie Morton.
Dan, he's better now than he was when he was 27. Yeah. He's better now than he was when he was 31. This is the beauty of baseball. You know this. The light goes on for certain guys. I told you once that Matt Diaz, like 12 years ago in the Braves clubhouse, the Pirates clubhouse in spring training, pointed at Charlie Morton and said, Roy Halladay. And I'm looking at Charlie Morton's numbers and said, he can't be Roy Halladay. And Matt Diaz said, watch, it's going to come for this guy. And it has. And now he's 37 years old. He's got as good a curveball as there is in the major leagues. He throws 98 miles an hour yesterday, 37 on short rest. By the way, he's a expert barbecue guy. He can make furniture. He can play the guitar. He can sing. He can do all this stuff. And yet I think he wants to retire, but he's way too good to retire. They keep bringing him back, and he's so good. He says, all right, I'll play for another year because I'm good.
I know. And success in the postseason. It's just, he's one of those guys that you get to the postseason, you see him pitch, and you go, I'll be damned. He's on a different team, but he's still very successful.
Right. He's so good, by the way, Dan, with barbecue. Sorry to interrupt. He has a little hitch on the back of his car, his truck, where he can take the grill with him wherever he goes. So if he's going on, so I said, this is when he was with the Rays. I said, have you ever taken the grill like to the ballpark? He said, no way. You have to start grilling and all that at 3:00 in the morning. I'm not going to the Trop at 3:00 in the morning just to feed my teammates. So he's really good at stuff like that.
I brought up Jose Altuve, who once again had a really good postseason, or started out there. And then I was wondering that, let's say they get to the World Series. Let's say they face the Dodgers. The cheating, scandal is going to come up again from 2017. Are the voters going to hold that against Jose Altuve for the Hall of Fame?
I think some will. I've been a voter for 31 years, and I'm not going to hold it against him. He's going to have Hall of Fame numbers for sure. Just go look at where he is in his career now. Look at how many hits he's got. He's got 19 postseason homers. He's stolen bases. He's won Gold Gloves. He won an MVP. And I understand he was in the middle of something he shouldn't have been in the middle of. But I'm not so naive to think that, they're the only team that ever tried to steal a sign or cheat or something like that. We've been doing this in baseball for 140 years, and I'm not condoning any of it. But if you're asking me, would I vote for him? If he has the numbers, I will. Do I think some people will say, no, he was part of something he should have been a part of? I'm not voting for him. Yes, I think that will happen to some degree.
Yeah, and I get usually a flood of emails whenever the Astros do well, because they're like, see, we don't need to cheat. We're good. And I always say, but why did you cheat in the first place if you didn't need to cheat? Are they a great story this year if they go to the World Series? Yes, that's a great story. It doesn't take away 2017. I still think baseball had physically taken away the World Series trophy. Since you couldn't take away anything else, except for a couple of jobs with manager and GM, would we be satisfied with that as the baseball jury?
I don't think that's a good idea because if you take it away, Dan, now other teams are going to say, well, what about us? We lost the World Series. I'm just making this up in 1989 because the whole team we played against was juiced. And then the 51 Dodgers can say, well, the Giants were stealing signs and they beat us in 2 out of 3 and ended up going to the World Series. Why don't we win the National League pennant? I just don't think you can open up that box because there are too many things in it. Dan, look, for the rest of time, all those guys are going to have that as part of their resume. Some of them are going to have it in the first paragraph of whatever big story is written about them. And they're going to get booed for a long time. Dan, you don't want people in your industry saying, Dan Patrick's a cheater. We don't have any respect for him. That may not be enough punishment. You're not taking away the stats or the money or the trophy, but I sure wouldn't want somebody who I play against all the time saying I have no respect for you for what you did. That would hurt. That would really hurt me. I know that.
You want the Astros Dodgers?
Well, I think that would be pretty good. But let's just say the Giants, who were supposed to win 74 games this year, were supposed to win fewer games than the Diamondbacks, who lost like 200 games this year, and the Red Sox, who finished last year. Let's say the Red Sox played the Giants in the World Series. I mean, that would be wildly interesting. But yes, I think everyone thinks that LA against Houston would be really cool, a rematch and all that stuff. I'm just a little afraid, Dan. I'm sorry. I'm way too much of a goody two shoes here, that we would get away from how great these players are and these teams are and concentrate more on what happened 4 years ago. And I'm just not sure that's what we should be doing in 2021.
All right, set the scene for Thursday night Dodgers Giants.
Well, the Giants are so good, Dan. And I'm telling you, I've looked for a comparable and I can't find it, of a team that was supposed to win 74 games and didn't add anybody of great significance where you can point to them and say, well, that's the reason they're so much better. The 45 Red Sox won 71 games, and the next year they won 104 and beat the Yankees and went to the World Series. But Ted Williams came back from World War II and hit 342. That's the reason they got so much better. You can't identify that with the Giants, which is what makes their story so fascinating. Now, they have good players. I mean, Buster Posey's a borderline Hall of Famer. Chris Bryant, these guys are good players. But the whole team bought into this team concept. They hit the ball out of the ballpark. They pitch really well. And the scene for tomorrow night is going to be spectacular in that ballpark. Two teams who never played in the playoffs since 1900, playing in a winner-take-all game. And Dan, at the moment, they both have 109 wins, 109, and they're playing a best of 5 and the deciders tomorrow night. I can't wait.
I just wonder if there's any similarities with the Oral Hershiser Dodgers when they won the World Series, when they didn't have star power. They had Oral, but it wasn't a lineup that was a murderer's row. In fact, didn't Bob Costas famously come out and say something prior to the start of that series about, you're going against a great team like the Oakland A's and the Dodgers really have no chance. I'm paraphrasing Bob here, but, that wasn't a formidable lineup that they had.
Right, but the Giants lineup is formidable, Dan.
Okay.
They were leading the National League in home runs for most of the season, and I think they finished second, just a couple behind. So they have a very good lineup. They just do it in a slightly different way. Instead of having 3 Hall of Famers who are going to hit 40 homers in the middle, everyone on the team has hit 5 or more homers. Like 10 guys hit 10 or more homers, and from 1 through 8 in the order, and the order always changes. Somebody can hit the ball out of the ballpark. Lamont Wade, Wilmer Flores, all these guys who are decent players, but when you put them in the right matchup, they become a really good player for that day. That's the secret of the Giants.
Talking to Tim Kurkjian, baseball reporter, and he'll be with Carl Ravitch, part of ESPN's regular Baseball Tonight telecast through the remainder of the postseason. The show airs every night at midnight Eastern. ESPN Radio, also the national audio home of the postseason, continuing that coverage all the way through the World Series. What's best for baseball with Shohei Ohtani, his future?
Well, he's got to keep doing what he's doing. And that's going to be really hard to do, to pitch that well,
But
to
where,
play
though,
as
Tim?
often. Pardon me?
But where?
I see. He should play with the Angels, Mike Trout, and he should be the stars that we all want to see. And I don't think it's that far off, but they are going to have to add literally 3 quality starting pitchers if this is going to happen. And then they're going to have to add 2 quality relievers if this is going to happen. And they can do that, I believe, with the money they have. I mean, just imagine, Dan, Mike Trout's the best player most of us have ever seen. I saw Willie Mays play, so Mike Trout might be the second best player I've ever seen. But Shohei Ohtani is, no one's ever seen that guy before. Imagine those 2 guys, the best player you've ever seen and the most remarkable player you've ever seen, taking their team into the playoffs. I think you have to keep those 2 together and then do whatever it takes to build around them. I'm not sure you can do it, but I just don't think they're that far off from being a playoff team. Baseball is a funny game. You go from real bad to real good to real bad. All of a sudden, I think it can happen with the Angels, but they better get some pitching soon.
But I just wonder how long do you keep Ohtani with dual duties there with pitching and being in the everyday lineup?
Well, as long as you possibly can, because his stuff is tremendous. That split, Dan, is unhittable. His offense, obviously, his power is ridiculous. He hit 8 triples. No one's ever done what he did last year when it comes to pitching, defense, and mostly speed and power. It's just so, I would tell him, if you're up for it physically, we want you to do exactly what you did in 2021. And if he can do that again, don't stop him.
I just wonder if he'll be sort of a baseball version of Bo Jackson, where Bo played football, played baseball, probably could have been a Hall of Famer if he committed to one sport. I wonder if Ohtani, could he be a Hall of Famer at both positions if he concentrated on just one of those positions?
I think he would have a chance. And look, I love Bo Jackson. I could tell you hours of Bo Jackson stories, some of the things I saw him do, but Ohtani's a better hitter than Bo Jackson was. And obviously, he's a better pitcher than Bo Jackson was. And yes, if Ohtani said, I just want to hit, I think he could hit a ton of homers, steal a ton of bases, and be a way above average defensive outfielder. I think if he just wanted to pitch, I think he could be a 20-game winner with an ERA under 3. That's how good I think he is. Bo Jackson, by the way, Dan, was the fastest and the strongest guy in the game, I believe, at the same time. Think about that. He could outrun anyone, and he was stronger than anyone. Jimmy Stewart, a scout, once told me a long time ago, he said, I scouted Bo in college. He said, I saw him hit a 500-foot home run, and then he ran out and caught it before it hit the ground, and then he threw it back to home plate in the air. That's how he described the tools of Bo Jackson.
Not that it happened, but, you know.
Not that it happened. Yeah. He was joking.
Yeah, it's still, he's just one of those names that if he had stayed healthy, you just wonder what he would have accomplished in either one of those sports.
Yeah. George Brett used to tell me, he said, I never once missed a Bo Jackson at bat. I never went to the bathroom once during a Bo Jackson at bat because I might miss something that I've never seen before. And I was there that night, Dan. You know that when he ran up the left center field fence in Baltimore, I was covering that game. He looked like a race car going around a ramp turn. A 240-pound man at full speed running up the fence like that. It was fascinating. And every time, Harold Reynolds used to tell me, we love Harold Reynolds, of course, every time Bo would get on first in like a double play situation, Harold would yell to him, Bo, this is baseball. It's not football.
Because Harold was going to have to hang in there at second base if he was turning 2 or Bo was stealing.
Right. We don't have to do that anymore, Dan. But back then, when 240 pounds of metal spikes came at you at 100 miles an hour, that was a bad situation.
All right. How does the postseason end? How does it play out?
Well, I've been wrong so far, so badly, but I picked the Dodgers to beat the Rays in the World Series. So I'm going to say, stay with it somehow, some way. The Dodgers are going to win Game 5. That's taking nothing away from the Giants. The Giants, I just told you, are great. I just think whoever wins that series beats the Braves, even though I just did the Braves series for 4 games. And Freddie Freeman is so good, and their pitching was so great. They dominated the Brewers with their pitching. I just don't think the Braves can beat the Giants or the Dodgers. American League, I think the Astros beat the Red Sox, but if you discount the Red Sox one more time, you're making a mistake. I just think the Astros are better, and I think the Dodgers beat the Astros in the World Series now. That's what I think, but I certainly don't know. And the beauty of this postseason, like everyone is, anyone who thinks he knows it's going to happen is just hasn't been watching baseball for the last 40 years.
You're looking good, Tim.
Dr. Fauci and I look an awful lot alike.
Yeah.
He's 80. I was talking to a guy recently. We're going over some old baseball from the 50s or 60s. This was a few years ago. And he goes, "Oh, you know a lot about baseball. What are you, 70, 75?" I was 58 years old. He thought I was 75. It was terrible.
Keep your head up, Tim.
I will.
Thank you, bud.
All right. See you soon.
That's Tim Kurkjian, ESPN baseball reporter.